double bag alert, double bag alert, folks. That's right. We got a loaded episode. I mean, a loaded episode, all right? Kolton Miller and Zach Allen get paid. Terry McLaurin requests a trade. Micah Parsons drama continues. Noah Fant heads to Cincinnati. Trey Hendrickson reports to training camp. Chargers versus Lions recap. Yes, we are going to talk about the Hall of Fame game. If you don't want to listen to it, guess what? You can skip it. It's no problem. It's not going to hurt my feelings. And the final gut check time, folks. That's right. AFC and NFC West. So guess what? You already know my spill. This is the 88th episode of the Football Junkies podcast, all right? I am your host with the most. I'm your Bagrodamus. That's right, your chief Bagrodamus to be specific, because you know why? I am in charge of anything and everything related to the bag, rumors to the bag, and more. But guess what? I am your GM who currently is not on a team right now, but don't you worry about it, all right? Don't you worry about it, because guess what? I am all these things and more. But most importantly, the most important thing that you must remember is I am your host, Kale. This is going to be a loaded episode. This is going to be an amazing episode because you are listening to the greatest football podcast that you can listen to on a week-to-week, day-to-day basis. So guess what? You already know how things are about to end. So guess what? On 3, 1, 2, 3, let's lock in. All right, folks, let's get into the meat and potatoes of everything that is going on in the league right now. All right, let's get these bag alerts out the way so we can get to the good stuff. All right, Cowboys fans, I want to feel bad for you, but I don't. But it's okay. I'll be a shoulder that you can cry on just for this episode. All right. But let's save that for later. Let's get into these bag alerts, all right? So, Zach Allen, defensive lineman for the Broncos, inks a 4-year, $102 million deal, $69.5 million guaranteed, a $24 million signing bonus, and he will be making $25.5 million a year. I forgot to add this in as well. He gets $44.2 million guaranteed at signing. When we look at his stats from this past season, 61 tackles and 8.5 sacks. Folks, the Broncos continue to do good business. Zach Allen is one of those defensive linemen that doesn't get a lot of attention. He doesn't really get his flowers. He flies under the radar, but you are talking about somebody that since joining the Broncos, he has been very productive. I'm not saying he has double-digit sacks, but I mean 8.5 sacks for the role that he plays is a really productive defensive lineman. It was only right for the Broncos to give him the extension that he so deserves, which, I mean, even when you look at this deal, it's not a bad deal at all. Because why? The team is still fairly young. You still have Bo Nix on his rookie deal. I mean, you just paid Courtland Sutton not too long ago. You paid PS2 as well. It's not that bad. This is a really good deal for a really good and very, very, very productive player. But congratulations to him. All right, now let's talk about Kolton Miller, left tackle for the Raiders. He inks a 3-year, $66 million deal, $42.5 million guaranteed, and he'll be making $22 million a year. Folks, this offseason has been great for left tackles, all right? It was only right that the Raiders took care of their left tackle, who, by the way, has been their longest tenured player for a while. Derek Carr's been gone for a while, Josh Jacobs, Darren Waller, this person, that person, all these other people have come and go. But Kolton Miller and Max Crosby have been the only two players that have stuck by the Raiders. Folks, this isn't a deal that's going to break the bank. This isn't a deal that's going to have the Raiders scratching their head in 2 years. This is a deal for somebody that's been loyal to the team through and through. And what better way to reward your player that's been with you through the ups and downs, the head-scratching moments, the questionable decisions, than to just give them a good deal. Now, let's talk about Terry McLaurin, okay? Because we're going to be talking about the NFC East for a while, okay? So, Terry McLaurin requested a trade. So, before we get into the hot takes, truth bombs, and all that other stuff, let's speed everybody up on where we are right now with this whole situation, all right? So, Terry McLaurin has requested a trade And this is due in part because there's been little to no progress between him and the Commanders. Now, prior to him requesting a trade, multiple teams have called and were told no prior to this point. Now, according to Diana Rossini from The Athletic, the road bump for this situation is that Terry McLaurin's age as well as his price. Now, when we look at notable wide receivers who have been in similar situations, you have to bring up T. Higgins, Deebo Samuel, and even Brandon Ayuk from last year. According to SpotRack, 2-year cash payouts for active wide receivers who were 29 or older includes Tyreek Hill at $54.1 million, Calvin Ridley $48 million, Mike Evans $44.6 million, Devontae Adams $44 million, Chris Godwin $44 million, Stephon Diggs $40.8 million, and Cooper Kupp at $31 million. So here's the thing. So while I understand that the Commanders are trying to factor his age on why they're not trying to give him the money that he's looking for, I think you have to put that to a side. Terry McLaurin has been very healthy throughout his entire career. It'll be different if he's somebody that, the last 2 seasons, he's only played like 4 or 5 games and, he's had significant injuries like, torn ACL one year, and then the next year he's torn an Achilles. Okay, fine. You have every right to have the stance that you have. Terry McLaurin has been healthy and he's been consistent since coming into the league. You're talking about somebody that has had multiple 1,000 receiving yard seasons with different quarterbacks. Quarterbacks, by the way, who, if we're being real here, wasn't playing their best ball. He's been productive with Dwayne Haskins, God rest his soul, Alex Smith, Taylor Heineke, Ryan Fitzpatrick. I can continue to go on and on and on. He's been consistent. So it's only right that the Commanders give him the money that he's looking for. And even then, you can structure the contract in a way to where he can get a majority of his money up front. So that, guess what? If anything crazy happens, you can move off of him and it doesn't affect you long term. You could give him a 3-year deal and, you can jack up the signing bonus and, base salary. There's so many different ways that you can skin a cat. So I don't see what the problem is. You have a quarterback that's on a rookie deal. There's nobody else on the team that you have to pay significant money to, except for Terry McLaurin. So I don't understand why things are so bad right now. But I will say this. If both sides cannot come to an agreement, trade him. Terry McLaurin has a market right now. I'm going to give you some of the teams that I think that should go after Terry McLaurin. And I'll even explain why. We'll turn this into somewhat of a mini experiment, okay? 49ers. First team that comes to mind. You want to know why? For one, Brandon Ayuk is still nursing his ACL injury. So most likely he's not going to be available for at least the first half of the season. There's nobody else outside of Jawan Jennings who, even then, he's having his own contractual situations as well. So outside of those two, all you have is Ricky Pearsall and the younger receivers. By bringing in Terry McLaurin, for one, you're providing help to the wide receiver room. It's a reliable and consistent weapon. And if you wanted to, you can talk him into taking less. Because why? You are still a playoff contender. Let's keep on going. The Chiefs. The Chiefs right now need a dominant wide receiver. They don't have one right now. Sure, Xavier Worthy is a speed demon, but okay, fine. You have Juju. He's the veteran. Rashee Rice. I don't know what's going on with his legal situation. I don't know if the league is going to suspend him or not. So you need to be in preparation that most likely he will be suspended for at least maybe 2 to 3 games, maybe a little bit longer. Sky Moore, I would venture to say he's fallen out of the good graces of the team. So with Terry McLaurin, once again, you can convince him, hey, we can't give you 30, but we can try to get you to 30. We can get you to 28. We can try to get you to 29 at best. I think he would be willing to take that. I think that would help the offense a whole lot more. But we'll talk about that when we get to gut check time, okay? Bills. The Bills don't have a true dominant number 1 receiver. Sure, Keon Cole is a really productive receiver, but he's a 2. He's not a 1. Terry McLaurin is a 1. Terry McLaurin could be the weapon that you need to get over your playoff woes. You can convince him to take less. And the Steelers, which, speaking of which, according to Chris Halleck from DK Pittsburgh Sports, by the way, side note, my bad, bro, because I know I butchered your last name on an All Steelers Talk live stream, and I did not mean to do that. Shout out to Noah. Shout out to DK Pittsburgh Sports. Shout out to Chris Halleck, because you guys put out some great content, by the way. But we're not here for that, okay? Now with the Steelers need a receiver badly. They tried to give Roman Wilson a chance. He hasn't shown anything. Calvin Austin is a slot receiver. If DK Metcalf goes down, God forbid, who else in that receiver room can you trust? We all saw what happened last season when George Pickens got hurt. That wide receiver room was unreliable. And sure, they made a trade for Mike Williams, but they really wasn't utilizing him. The only time that they really used him was for the Washington game. And in doing so, he helped them win the game. So if I'm the Steelers, I probably would want to be the most aggressive, because why? For one, you brought in a potential better quarterback than what you had last year. You know that if DK Metcalf gets hurt, there's nobody else that you can rely on. And right now, Terry McLaurin is probably your best chance of this offense really becoming a better offense than what it has been the last 3 to 5 years. I think a receiver core that has DK Metcalf, Calvin Austin, and Terry McLaurin is way more formidable than what they have right now. Even when you look at training camp reports from any of the beat writers that are there, they'll all say the same thing. The offense continues to get dominated. So if you're the Steelers, you got to be aggressive. Now, when we talk about compensation and stuff like that, I would venture to say that the starting point for any Terry McLaurin trade would include a second round pick. Now, what you do after that second round pick depends. Me personally, I would say maybe a second, maybe a conditional fourth that can turn into a third, maybe a second and a receiver that you know is not going to make the roster. Maybe a second and a third and, something else. There's different ways that you can address this that's going to benefit both sides. But at the same time, if you're Washington, you know that by trading Terry McLaurin away, that opens up a bigger problem for the offense. Granted, they traded for Deebo Samuel, but you don't know what version of Deebo Samuel you're getting. You know what you're getting with Terry McLaurin. Not to mention, this could potentially damage the progress in Jaden Daniels. So if I'm the Commanders, you have to try to at least attempt to put a legitimate offer that's going to entice Terry McLaurin. Now, am I saying that you have to give him $40+ million? No. Am I saying that you have to pay him more than what CeeDee Lamb is making? No. But I do believe that he is due between $30 and $33 million a year. I think that's a reasonable price. I don't think that's a bad price at all. If you look at the deal that he signed a few years ago, that was a team-friendly deal. The market has changed now. His price point is literally what the market is going for right now. Any productive number one wide receiver is making at least $30+ million a year. A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, DK Metcalf, all of them are making $30+ million. So it's only right that he get his piece to the puzzle. So if I'm the Commanders, you want to try to at least attempt to get something done, to at least have some progress within the next few days, maybe within the next 2 weeks or so. Because right now, if this thing continues to stall, you are running the risk of possibly hurting the team more than actually helping it. You're going to need Terry McLaurin this season. So if I'm the Commanders, just pay him. Give him a 3-year deal, juice up the numbers, go from there. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to hurt your cap. It's not going to hurt anything at all. Got to take care of your players, man. This is what happens when you have superstars on your team. I'm going to talk, just you wait, because we have to talk about the Michael Parsons situation, all right? Which, actually, you know what? We'll talk about it right now. So Micah Parsons has requested a trade, ladies and gentlemen. As we all have known, Our phones have been buzzing. If you have social media, that's all you've been seeing. If you have friends that are Cowboys fans, they're probably super depressed and whatnot, and just, staring at a wall, crying their eyes out because, it's just the end for them, all right? But let's talk about the facts first before we get into opinions. So prior to Micah Parsons requesting a trade, Diane Rossini of The Athletic put out this article, and that Parsons was considering requesting a trade or, and I quote, a declaration that severs his relationship with the team, end quote. Right now, both sides remain far apart and are currently not negotiation. During the spring, Micah had directly negotiated with Jerry Jones and believed that they had a deal. When Parsons involved his agent with these negotiations, the Cowboys refused to engage with him and told the pass rusher, and I quote, honor the agreement he had made, end quote. The team is refusing to engage with Parsons' agent, David Mulgeta, and Micah is attending practice but isn't involved on the on-field work. Now, this is what Jerry Jones had to say, and I quote, we're just working with what it is. It's not uncommon for me and not anything that there's a lot of angst over. He's doing a real good job of being here, and that's important. We are where we are, and I signed the check, period, end quote. I'm going to say that last part one more time. And I signed the check, period. But Micah Parsons says this, and I quote, I want to be here. At the end of the day, they signed the checks. Let's see if they want me to be here. I've been pretty consistent. If they don't want me here, I'll go about my business. I understand the nature of the business. As long as I'm here and under contract, I'm going to do what I have to do to perform at the highest level. But if this is the end, then this is the end, end quote. I'm not even done yet with half of the other things that we have to talk about, okay? There's so many different ways that I have to take this one topic. But let's just keep on going because this is really good, okay? This is really, really, really good. So, CeeDee Lamb tweets this out. And I quote, never fails, dog. Just pay the man. Just pay the man what you owe him. No need for the extracurricular, end quote. Okay? And then shortly after, Micah Parsons puts out this statement. And this is a very lengthy statement, so just bear with me, okay? And I quote, yes, I wanted to be here. I did everything I could to show that I wanted to be a Cowboy and wear the star on my helmet. I wanted to play in front of the best fans in sports and make this America's team once again. The team my pops and I grew up cheering for way up in Harrisburg, PA. Unfortunately, I no longer want to be here. I no longer want to be held to closed-door negotiations without my agent present. I no longer want shots taken at me for getting injured while laying it on the line for the organization, our fans, and my teammates. I no longer want narratives created and spread to the media about me. I have purposely stayed quiet in hopes of getting something done. But since there is confusion out there, let me clear some things up. I had my agent reach out to the Cowboys last offseason after my third year in hopes of getting a deal done early. Unfortunately, the team did not want to start any negotiations at that point. I was okay with that, didn't complain, and focused on the 2024 season. After the season, I told my agent once again to let them know where we were open to negotiate when they... Michael, what are you doing? When they met at the combine. My agent informed me I should wait for other deals to get done because the price will only go up. But I didn't care and I wanted to secure myself as a Cowboy long term. This was before any of the other pass rushers' deals. After the season, I told my agent once again to let them know we were open to negotiate when they met at the combine. My agent informed me I should wait for other deals to get done because the price will only go up, but I didn't care and wanted to secure myself as a Cowboy long term. Micah, you're just repeating yourself. What the heck is going on? This was before any of the other pass rusher deals got done this offseason. Oh, he was correcting himself. Okay. I knew I would be leaving money on the table, but again, I was okay with that. Again, radio silence as far as my extension. In March, I met with Mr. Jones to talk about leadership. Somehow, the conversation turned into him talking contract with me. Yes, I engaged in a back and forth in regards to what I wanted from my contract, but at no point did I believe this was supposed to be a formal negotiation, and I informed Mr. Jones afterward my agent would reach out thinking that this would get things done. But when my agent reached out and spoke to Adam, he was told the deal was pretty much already done. My agent, of course, told him that wasn't the case and also reached out to Stephen Jones. Again, the team decided to go silent. At that point, we decided we would allow the team to reach out to us whenever they decided they wanted to talk. Yet still not a call, email, or text to my agent about starting a negotiation. Up to today, the team has not had a... Micah, come on, man. Why would you do this in the notes? Why didn't you just type this out or something? But come on, man. This is just crazy. Not one demand has been made by my agent about money, years, or anything else. Still, I stay quiet, but again, after repeated shots at myself and all the other narratives, I have made a tough decision. I no longer want to play for the Dallas Cowboys. My trade request has been submitted to Stephen Jones personally, end quote. I know this is very confusing, but this is what J.J. Watt had to say. And I quote, take care of your best players early. Saves money, saves headaches. The longer you wait, the higher the price, end quote. And J.J. Watt is 100% correct. That is the difference between a reactive organization and a proactive organization. Proactive organizations, case in point, the Eagles, Ravens, sometimes 49ers, guess what? They pay their players ahead of time to avoid all that drama, saves money, and that way they don't have to react to the market. They can dictate the market. But instead, here you have someone who is not serious about winning. All he is serious about is how many likes, how many clicks, and how many people are talking about the Dallas Cowboys. Because if you had an owner that was serious about winning, we wouldn't be at this point. That deal would have been signed, sealed, and delivered. It is rare, and I mean very rare, to have a star player that is willing to take less just because he loves the organization, just because he loves the team that much. Most superstars, they're cracking you over the head. But here you have someone in Micah Parsons who prior to this point was willing to take less for the team just because he loved them that much. But that bridge is burned. And even though the Cowboys believe that that bridge is still alive and it's very stable, oh no, that bridge is charred. And the fact that you have an owner that is so immature and his son who is so naive and so blinded by his own father's words and don't even realize that, listen, if we don't take care of our superstar right now, we are going to lose more than gain. Name me any other person on that defense right now that can contribute as much as a Micah Parsons. I'll wait. Don't have an answer? Exactly my point. Micah Parsons is the only person that can keep the Cowboys from having a winning season. There is nobody else on the defense that can contribute like a Micah Parsons. And if you don't have Micah Parsons on that field, you are going to lose more games than win them. And you know that. But you're not focused about winning. You know what you're focused on? And seeing on ESPN that people are talking about who? The Cowboys. You turn on the NFL Network. Who they talk about? Who? The Cowboys. That's what you're concerned about. Here you have a naive, immature, snake of an owner who doesn't care about his players. He only cares about what they bring to the table. But this is what happens when you don't take care of your players. Especially your superstars. Your superstars, you were supposed to go above and beyond for them. Because you know why? They are your difference makers. They are your game changers. They are the people that you know that, guess what? If you don't have them on the field, you are going to lose more than win. But here you have an immature owner in Jerry Jones who treats them like an ant. Now, if I'm Micah Parsons, I'm not stepping on the field until I get traded. Now, I know for a lot of people, you're probably saying Micah Parsons isn't going to get traded. I think at this point, that's the only option. And I think if the Cowboys were willing to meet his number or give him a fully guaranteed contract or whatever it is just so things could be resolved, I think Micah Parsons wouldn't do it. I think Micah truly believes that, listen, you have questioned who I am as a player and as a man. You have questioned my leadership. You have questioned everything that I do. And so I just can't stand for that. And so I want to go somewhere where they value me more than just a player. And he has every right to feel the way that he feels. Now, I will say this. The only situation that we can reference is the Khalil Mack trade. Because remember, the Raiders in return got 2 first-round picks, a 6th, and a 3rd-round pick for Khalil Mack. So if I'm any team, most likely you're going to have to give up 2 first-round picks. It's not a first-round pick and a conditional pick and the player and this and that. No, it's 2 first-round picks plus whatever else that you give them. Now, when we look at teams that could possibly make a move for Micah Parsons, I'm going to tell you the first team that comes to mind. And Mook, you already know what I'm getting ready to say. We talked about it. The Ravens. Hear me out. This may turn into a lengthy conversation, okay? If you're the Ravens, you make this move. There's no point in you continuing to draft year after year after year. It's time for you to win now. Because for every year that you don't go to the Super Bowl, for every year that you don't win the Super Bowl, is a year that's wasted. And if you're the front office, you have to ask yourself this. How many years are you going to continue to waste? You need a closer. You don't have one right now on the roster. Micah Parsons is the answer. The last productive pass rusher that you had was Terrell Suggs. Granted, you have Kyle Van Noy right now. He's been doing well since joining the Ravens. But he's just one person. If you get a Micah Parsons, that can open up the floodgates to how you want to attack a quarterback. Because guess what? I don't care who it is. It could be Sean McVay, it could be Andy Reid, Kyle Shanahan, whomever. No one can scheme a good enough strategy to stop a defensive line that's going to have Justin Madubuike, Micah Parsons, Odafe Oweh, Kyle Van Noy, Mike Green, the Green Machine, and everyone else. At some point, you have to make the radical move. You have to be crazy to win a Super Bowl. You saw what the Rams did. The Rams said, fuck them picks. That's the same mindset you got to have at this point. There is no other prospect within the next 5 years that has the skill set that Micah Parsons has right now. There is nobody in the draft within the next 5 years that is that interesting, that is that much of a difference maker to this team. Micah Parsons could literally be the person that gets you over the hump. If you get Micah Parsons, that is going to put fear in a Patrick Mahomes. Because you know why? Not only is Micah Parsons going to go after you, you can use him as a spy. So that's going to contain Patrick Mahomes in the pocket, and you are going to impose your will on that offense. I keep on saying this, folks. The only way that you can beat a Patrick Mahomes, you have to assault him. You have to beat him. You saw what the Buccaneers did. What did they have? A mean defensive line. You had Vita Vea. You had Shaq Barrett. You had Ndamukong Suh. You had a crazy pass rush. What did the Eagles just do? You had Jalen Carter. You had Jordan Davis. You had Brandon Graham. You had Nolan Smith. You had Josh Sweat. You had a line. You had a wave that never ended. That's what you need. Micah Parsons would be the person that can go toe-to-toe against a Josh Allen, a Patrick Mahomes. So yes, it may be a hefty price, but who cares about the price if you're going to be holding up a Lombardi? No one. If you trade for Micah Parsons right now and you win a Super Bowl this year and you have the chance to win another Super Bowl the next year, how are you going to do it? Here you have someone, 26 years old, not 32, not 33, not 35, not 39. 26 years old. Hasn't even reached his prime yet. And he's right there. All you have to do is give up 2 first-round picks and possibly a player. You're not going to do that? And you can even tell Micah Parsons, hey, listen, if you're looking to reset the market, we can't do that for you. If you're looking to tie with this person, that person, we can't do that for you. But you know what we can do for you? We can help you get to a Super Bowl. We can help you become a Super Bowl champion. And I guarantee you Micah Parsons would give in. I guarantee you he would be a part of the process. Now, Another team that I think would be very interested to go after Michael Parsons, I think the Commanders would do it. I think right now, outside of Von Miller, who else in that pass rusher room can you trust consistently? No one. Sure, Frankie Louvu is a Swiss Army knife. He's lined up at the edge. You've seen him line up, as a middle linebacker. He's everywhere. But it's just something about having someone like a Micah Parsons that just hits different. That's like if TJ Watt became available right now. You mean to tell me you want to turn down a TJ Watt? Man, please, let me tell you something. If you're the Eagles, I would pick up the phone. I would move some future assets around if it means I can get a Micah Parsons. Because you know why? By getting a Micah Parsons, you can extend your Super Bowl window for another 3, maybe 4 years at best. If you're any of the Super Bowl teams, you have to have a realistic conversation about possibly going after Micah Parsons. I understand that the compensation is cheap. But if you are a team that is trying to get over a hump, if you are a team that has never been to the Super Bowl, if you are a team that has everything else in place, but all you need is a top-end pass rusher, you know who you're going to need to call. And it may not be a good call, and they may try to crack you over the head. But guess what? It won't matter if you're a Super Bowl champion. Now, I will say this, and this comes from Adam Schefter. Since Jerry Jones purchased the Cowboys in 1989, there has been only one instance of his team trading away a player immediately following a Pro Bowl season. The only time Jerry Jones has traded a player coming off a Pro Bowl season was April 1994 when he sent safety Thomas Everett to the Buccaneers for a 1994 fourth-round pick. The Cowboys also traded Amari Cooper in March of 2022, a couple years after he made a Pro Bowl, to the Browns for a 2022 sixth-round pick in exchange for a 2022 fifth-rounder, 2022 sixth-rounder. That's the only time he's done this. Yes, this is uncharted territory for both the Cowboys and a player. But at the same time, if you realize that negotiations have stalled and you know that things aren't going anywhere anytime soon, why play hardball when you can be compensated for it? Because right now you need 2 first-round picks. You need as many picks as you possibly can get. Because right now on that defensive line, there is nobody on that defensive line outside of Micah Parsons that strikes fear in people's hearts. Not Mozzie Smith, not Solomon Thomas. Who else? You can name me any person on that defensive line. Nobody is causing offensive coordinators and quarterbacks to miss sleep other than Micah Parsons. So if you're the Cowboys, do you at least attempt to try to mend this? Or do you move off of Micah Parsons, receive that compensation, and use that compensation to build this team up even more? Because right now, the offensive line still needs to be rebuilt. Defensive line still needs to be built. Still need to address inside linebacker. You need other weapons outside of George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. And you need to prepare just in case George Pickens doesn't want to be with the team. You still have other positions on the team, both offense and defense, that have holes. You have to look at it a few different ways if you're the Cowboys. But only time will tell. Hopefully, we will have some resolution soon. Do I expect it? No, I don't. But hey, I wouldn't be surprised. Now let's talk about somebody else. Another superstar that's in a bad situation. Trey Hendrickson. So Trey Hendrickson has finally reported to training camp. Now, he's not participating in training camp. It's a hold-in, not a hold-out. But he did have this to say, and I quote, "There are plans on not having to play on the current deal. That's something we have a common goal to get to. That's the plan moving forward, no distractions. I'm excited to be here," end quote. But he also goes on to say this, and I quote, "But as we continue to go through this process, I plan on handling with respect to Zach Taylor, to the 2025 Bengals, and not being a distraction," end quote. Now, according to Ben Baby of ESPN, prior to the veterans' report date for training camp, which was July 22nd, Trey Hendrickson said he was training for 30 days in Cincinnati and had intentions of reporting. He continues to say that he won't participate until he receives an extension. Now, his market value, according to SpotRack, is 3 years, $116.5 million, which is $38.8 million a year. This past season, he had 46 tackles and 17 and a half sacks. Folks, what do I keep on saying? You have to take care of your superstars. This is what happens when you have a superstar. You have to pay them market value. You know right now that the market value for a top end pass rusher, an elite pass rusher, is 30 plus million. So if you know that, why weren't you proactive? You could have hashed this out last year when the market was actually cheaper. But now that you have allowed Max Crosby, Myles Garrett, and TJ Watt to all get deals in one offseason, you may have to pay Trey Hendrickson a little bit more. So if you're the Bengals, you have a tough decision that you have to make. Do you let Trey Hendrickson continue to hold out, or do you swallow your pride and pay the man? Me personally, I will pay the man because you have no other choice. There is nobody else on that defense that is just as productive or even more productive than Trey Hendrickson. Not a corner, not an inside linebacker, not a safety, not a D tackle can hold a candle to what Trey Hendrickson does. Every single game. He can be double teamed and he still finds a way to get through and gets a sack. So it's only right that you pay him. And mind you, I don't think Trey Hendrickson is looking to reset the market. He just wants what's his. Which, can you blame him for that? No, you can't. So I don't understand why are we seeing three organizations that are unwilling to pay their star player, one of their star players. Because again, I did not see the Bengals having a problem ripping out their checkbook to give a check to Joe Burrow. And mind you, they did this at the start of the regular season. As soon as that kicker kicked the ball off, everyone got the same notification. Joe Burrow inks a deal. Joe Burrow is tied for the highest paid quarterback in the league at $55 million a year. Next thing you know, Jamar Chase gets a deal. He resets the wide receiver market. T. Higgins gets his deal. This person's getting paid. That person getting paid. You can't pick and choose who you want to pay. You knew what you were getting when you gave Trey Hendrickson his first contract when you got him in free agency. So I don't understand what the holdup is. But for the love of God, can we get some people who can just get the horseshoe out of their ass and just pay the man? It's not hard. All you have to do is pick up the phone, have a conversation, say, hey, what's your number? That number is a little bit too high. Let's try this number. Okay, how about this? What's your middle number? You give you yours, we'll give you ours. You know what? Let's compromise. Simple things. That simple sentence right there can go such a long way than just say, you know what? Nah, we're not going to pay him that. Nah, we're just going to cease communication with him. It's hurting you more than helping you. Because guess what? You know that without Trey Hendrickson this season, Joe Burrow is going to be in a shootout every single game for 17 weeks straight. And you know that you're going to lose more than win. It's the price of a superstar. This is the price of having a superstar. This is why certain teams handle superstars better than others. When you look at the Eagles, when you look at the Steelers, when you look at the 49ers, even when you look at the Chiefs, they handle their superstars. Even with the Chiefs, they had to realize that, listen, we can't go a season without Chris Jones. We're going to have to pay Chris Jones. It only took them 2 games to realize that. After that second game, Brett Veach probably said, you know what? What's your number? We'll pay you. We'll pay you right now. No problem. No questions asked. Because they realized that, listen, if we want to continue to be competitive, if we want to continue to win championships, we need our guy. And it's starting to reach a point now where, listen, if you don't have a star pass rusher on your team, you're not going to win. Pay the piper. Make the deal. Now, with that being said, let's talk about the Hall of Fame game briefly, okay? We're not going to go into deep dive about it. We're just talking about it very briefly because, of course, it is a football game, okay? So Trey Lance, 20 attempts for 13 completions, 120 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 6 yards per attempt. Kamani Vidal, 9 carries for 37 rushing yards, 4.1 rushing yards per carry, and 2 touchdowns. Keandre Lambert-Smith, 2 receptions for 43 receiving yards, 1 touchdown, and 21.5 receiving yards per reception. Kyle Allen, 14 attempts for 9 completions, 91 passing yards, 2 picks, and 6.5 yards per attempt. Hendon Hooker, 6 attempts for 3 completions, 18 passing yards, 1 pick, 3 yards per attempt. Wow, that's bad. Craig Reynolds, 10 carries for 38 rushing yards, 3.8 rushing yards per carry, and 1 touchdown. Isaac Tesla, either Tesla or Tesla, 2 receptions for 46 receiving yards and 23 receiving yards per reception. Folks, Trey Lance looked really good this game. I understand that this is a Hall of Fame game, but Trey Lance looked really good. See, if Trey Lance does this for the rest of the preseason, moving forward, he will always have a job. Because that's all you need to do as a backup quarterback. No one is saying that you have to play hero ball. All you have to do is just execute. And that's exactly what Trey Lance did. That first half, he looked great. Executing the plays, making the routine throws, wasn't trying to be overzealous, wasn't trying to do anything dramatic or crazy. He was just doing his job, and that's all you need. And it worked. Now, a lot of that can be contributed to, 1, having a coach that actually believes in you, and 2, having a system in place that supports you. See, one thing we need to talk about with Greg Roman is he does very well when it comes to mobile quarterbacks. From Colin Kaepernick to Lamar Jackson, even with Trey Lance. He's pretty successful with mobile quarterbacks. Now, sometimes he can extend his stay for a little bit too long. Okay, Ravens, we know. But you know exactly what you're getting with Greg Roman. And when you have a head coach like Jim Harbaugh that believes in each and every one of his players, a lot of times, that's when you put your best foot forward. Because there was a clip where you saw Jim Harbaugh, like revving up Trey Lance, just talking to him like, hey, man, get ready for this, get ready for this. Sometimes that's what a quarterback needs. And in some ways, this is somewhat of a shot at the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan. Because here you have somebody in Trey Lance who did exactly what he did last night, and you just let him go like it was nothing. But you should have known exactly what you were getting when you drafted Trey Lance. You knew that he was raw. You knew that he was a project. So why in the world would you just thrust him out into the fire and say, you know what, all right, let's see what you got? No, some quarterbacks need time. Some of them need a little bit of encouragement. And I understand we live in a time now where that's not really the case. A lot of head coaches don't do that. I get that. But that's what Trey Lance needed. He needed somebody that believed in him. And Kyle Shanahan didn't believe in him. And now look, Trey Lance has actually showed something. Trey Lance could at best be a really, really, really productive backup quarterback in the league. And sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes you can take the Geno Smith route and be a backup for 3 or 4, maybe 5 years, and then something breaks and then you're the starter again. Trey Lance can do that. But when you have someone in the 49ers who moved, 2 first-round picks, 2 or 3 first-round picks to get Trey Lance, and he just moved off of him like it was nothing? Come on, man. You know what time it was. Now, granted, I understand that they probably moved off of him because they realized that, 1, we're in our window and we want to maximize, every opportunity that we have. I get all of that. But if you were going to address quarterback, you should have went a different route than to trade up multiple first-round picks to get a raw quarterback. But I'm not going to say anything. But I will say this. If you are the Lions, you have to be a little bit concerned. And granted, I'm going to say it again. I understand that this is a Hall of Fame game, but in some ways you have to take every game seriously. Offensively and defensively, they were not playing well. And we all saw what happened with the Lions late last season, especially the defense. That defense was beaten up. And you know most likely you're going to have to rely on those same people that was on that field during the Hall of Fame game. That's not good. That Chargers team on that field look like they can go toe-to-toe with any of the other teams in the league. You had an old Tony Jefferson that looked good. He got a pick. Defensive linemen, they're doing their thing. Corners are holding their own. Wide receivers are doing their thing. Everybody is doing their job effectively, and it's working. If you're the Chargers, this is good. If you're the Lions, you got to be concerned a little bit. But we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Chargers and everything else once we get to gut check time. But even with Kyle Allen, the first probably 3 to 5 drives, he was actually looking pretty good. He was executing the plays, play action, roll out, hit, boom. And then I don't know what happened, but he just reverted back to his old ways. And it's just like, bro, whoa, this is not looking good. Even Hendon Hooker, he was just, I don't know what's going on. And granted, I understand that this offseason for the Lions has come with a lot of change. You lost both your offensive and defensive coordinator, as well as the positional coaches that were under them. I get all that. But man, if all you guys were able was just to put up just 7 points, it's a little bit concerning. Because you know at some point, that backup running back could be playing for 2 or 3 weeks. That backup left guard could be playing in for the rest of the season. That backup corner could be helping out for 3 to 6 weeks of the season. These are things that people don't think about, but they need to think about because, again, the preseason isn't just for people who they're trying to get a roster spot. This is to show, hey, this is what happens if we're in a situation where we're losing at least 3 to 5 people on both sides of the ball, and we have to bring in some people from, I don't know, the practice squad or from outside the team. This is how the offense will work. This is how the defense will work. But nobody wants to talk about that. But let's get into gut check time, folks. That's right, gut check time, the final gut check time, all right? NFC and AFC West. You already know how these things are about to go, but this time we are starting with the AFC West. Now, this is going to get very controversial, but it's okay because guess what? Who doesn't love a little bit of controversy? But before we get there, we got to pay some bills. Pardon the interruption, but this is your GM, your bag road dominance, here to talk about RSS.com, all right? So if you guys already don't know, I am a RSS.com affiliate, and so I just want to tell you for just a quick moment about why you should choose RSS.com. So me personally, on my journey of podcasting, I was looking at different platforms just to find the right place. And I looked here, I looked there, I looked everywhere, but I checked out RSS.com and it was the best decision I ever made. From low prices to interactive analytics to as well as helping you with your distribution. RSS.com does it all. Not to mention, they just started a Slack channel where you can network and interact with other podcasters and even get some insightful tips on how you can increase your podcast even more. So head on over to RSS.com. I will be attaching my RSS affiliate link within the description. When you click on that link, I will be able to receive some compensation for it. And with that compensation, I will be able to give you guys a better product. A lot of that money will go towards upgrading the microphones, computers, new subscriptions for more analytical information that we can use for future podcasts, all of that and more. Thank you for your support, and thank you RSS.com for making me an affiliate. Now back to the good stuff. And we're back, folks. So let's start with the Chiefs, all right? So positional battles to watch out for. Wide receiver, left tackle, and guard. Players to keep an eye out for. Sky Moore, Tyquan Thornton, Jalen Royals, Josh Simmons, Jalen Moore, Mike Calando, and Kingsley Suamatia. The storyline for the Chiefs is, what edge will the offense have this year? We all know that last season, this offense was not good. We know that there was a lot of games where this defense had to step in and they had to dig deep just to win the game. Especially that game against the 49ers. Oh man, the offense was just atrocious. It wasn't consistent, and it wasn't that same offense that everyone has been raving about for the past few years. Let me just read to you their offensive rankings, okay? So they had the 16th ranked offense. They averaged 22.6 points per game, 327.6 yards per game, 5.1 yards per play, and 41 touchdowns. They had the 14th passing offense, and they averaged 222.4 passing yards per game, 5.9 passing yards per play, and 26 passing touchdowns. They had the 22nd rushing offense, and they averaged 105.3 rushing yards per game, 4 rushing yards per play, 15 rushing touchdowns, and had 33 rushes of 10 plus yards or more. So I want to know, what are they going to do this year that's going to keep them ahead of everybody? Are they going to be more effective in the run game? Are they going to be more effective in the passing game? What exactly are they going to do? Because right now, their division has become a lot more competitive in just this one offseason alone. The Raiders now have stability at quarterback. The Chargers are starting to look serious. And the Broncos, man, the Broncos look like they're serious. So you have to be able to have an edge over all of them right now. Because all of their defenses, well, except for the Raiders, no offense to y'all, has actually become better. So what are you going to do? Me personally, I feel like they need to go back to running the ball more effectively. Now, granted, I understand Isaiah Pacheco was out for a period of time, but still, the run game has to get better. Passing game, not really worried about as much, but the run game has to be better. But connecting this with the whole Terry McLaurin situation, if you had someone like a Terry McLaurin, I think that would help the offense out a whole lot better. Because here you have somebody that is still fairly young, who can create separation like any of the other better wide receivers, okay? And you're talking about somebody that's reliable and who's consistent. Now let's get to these players, okay? So Sky Moore, right now, if I'm you, I'm probably just going to try to put out my best foot forward just for the hope that somebody else will pick me up. Because my guess is you have fallen out of the good graces of the team. Is it because of your play? Is it because of you? I don't know. I'm not going to debate about that. But if I'm Sky Moore, you're on the outside looking in. So I think you have to have a strong and consistent training camp as well as preseason. Tyquan Thornton, Jalen Royals, you have a chance to play a significant role in this offense. So if I'm you, I am maximizing every single opportunity that you get. I'm building up as many reps as you can so that you can build somewhat of a connection with Patrick Mahomes, because we all know at some point the Chiefs are going to use you. So if you start now, by the middle to late part of the season, guess what? That connection with Patrick Mahomes, it's already intact. So you have nothing to worry about. You already know what he's looking for. He doesn't have to say anything. He just has to look at you and you know, oh, hey, he wants me to run a dig. He wants me to run a post, a drag, fade, whatever. Josh Simmons and Jalen Moore, I'm interested in seeing this, and here's why. From what I've heard, Josh Simmons has been doing his thing. And this is the rookie that they drafted this year. He has been killing it. And granted, I understand when he was coming out of college, the main knock on him was he had I think he had a knee problem or something, and that's probably what caused him to drop in the draft. But I mean, I feel like that's a blessing in disguise because let's be real here. One of the main positions that's been really killing the Chiefs for the probably, I don't know, maybe the past 3 to 4 years has been left tackle. They've tried the free agency route. They've tried drafting it, and it really hasn't been successful. They tried to get Orlando Brown. He was okay, but I wouldn't say he was the end-all, be-all. They tried free agency again. Really didn't work out the best. And so now they're just like, you know what? We'll just draft one. And so far, it looks pretty good. Now, I want to see if this carries over into the preseason and into the regular season as well. Jalen Moore, I mean, you want to show a little bit of something. Because right now, Josh Simmons is killing it. So if I'm you, I got to put my best foot forward. Now, how do you do that? I don't really know. I don't know if it means that you have to be more consistent in winning your reps. I don't know if you have to be more detailed when executing plays. Whatever it is, you have to do it. But at the same time, we all know that the Chiefs are going to keep as many tackles as they possibly can because we know that their tackles go down pretty quickly. Mike Calindo and Kingsley Suamatia, I want to see where you guys are, especially Kingsley Suamatia, because I know there was a point where I think he was a tackle, then they moved him back to guard, and Right now, I mean, I wouldn't say you're on the outside looking in, but I think if somebody can provide stability at guard, I think that would go a long way. Because outside of Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith, this offensive line has gone through a lot of changes. I think every single offseason they're rebuilding the offensive line, but that just shows you that they're not satisfied with what they have, and rightfully so. But when we look at possible free agent additions, if they want to take that route with tackle, I mean, you have George Fant, Andreas Pete, Isaiah Wynn, Chris Hubbard. Guard, if you want to shore up the guard position, you have Brandon Scherf, Shaq Mason, Will Hernandez, John Feliciano, Cody Whitehair, Dalton Reisner, Mark Glanowski. I will say this, if you do give Brandon Scherf, I mean, he's really good when it comes to the run game. Just saying. If you want to take that veteran approach, if you feel like neither one of the guards that you have right now has shown anything, go with the veteran approach. Any of those guards would be willing to take less just to be with the Chiefs. I know I was forgetting something. Wide receiver as well. Okay, so when we look at their free agents, you have Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Gabe Davis, Nelson Aguilar, DJ Chark, Tyler Boyd, Chris Conley, and Jamison Crowder. Now you can take the free agency route, and you can get someone like a Gabe Davis, and you can get him for cheap because the Jaguars are still paying him, I think, at least $11 million, if I'm not mistaken. You can go with the veteran approach, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper. You can go someone that's like a little bit younger in DJ Chark. You have options at wide receiver. But if I'm the Chiefs, I think you have to seriously consider making at least one big investment into wide receiver because we've seen that for the last few years they've tried the veteran approach. Really hasn't been as successful. I mean, Juju has probably been their most successful veteran wide receiver so far. They tried to make the move with D Hop. That really didn't, end so well. So let's see what happens. Now let's go to the Raiders. Okay, so positional battles to watch out for: wide receiver, inside linebacker, defensive end, and guard. Okay, players to keep an eye out for: Tyree Wilson, Devin White, Jalen Smith, Dante Thornton Jr., Jack Besh, Dylan Parham, and Jordan Meredith. The storyline for the Raiders is: what is considered a successful season for them? I understand they've gone through a lot of change, and I understand that they brought in somebody who he's supposed to bring in stability in Pete Carroll. But what would be considered a successful season for the Raiders right now? They have to show something because that offense last year was atrocious. I don't know what it was, but it just wasn't meshing, okay? So according to NFL Pro, they have the 27th ranked offense, and they averaged 18.2 points per game, 303.2 yards per game, 4.8 yards per play, and 29 touchdowns. They were 13th in passing offense, and they averaged 223.4 passing yards per game, 5.5 passing yards per play, and 19 passing touchdowns. They were dead last in rushing offense, and they averaged 79.8 rushing yards per game, 3.6 rushing yards per play, 10 rushing touchdowns, and 34 rushes of 10 plus yards or more. Case in point, that's why they made the investment in getting Ashton Jeanty. Do I feel like this team can win 8, maybe 10 or 12 games? No. I think at best the Raiders are probably a 5 to 7 win team at best. I do believe that they're still probably the third best team in their division. Sure, they're not like a slouch of a team, but I just feel like defensively and offensively, they're still missing out on a lot. Granted, I mean, you still have Max Crosby and you have Brock Bowers and, Geno Smith and company, but I still feel like that's not enough when you're in a division that has Patrick Mahomes, Bo Nix, and Justin Herbert, okay? So Tyree Wilson, I want to see more. I want to see you take that next step. I want to see you solidify yourself as the partner for Max Crosby. Because that's why they drafted you. They drafted you to be someone that can be just as productive or even more productive than Max Crosby. Sure, you had a pretty good season last year, but more is expected from you. Am I saying that you have to have a double-digit sack season? No. But I think if you get maybe 8 or maybe like 9.5 sacks, I feel like that's actually pretty good. Devin White, survive, I would say at this point. You've been on the Eagles. That didn't work out. You've been on the Texans. That didn't really work out. Let's see what happens with the Raiders. And granted, the Raiders brought in Jamal Adams, who's converting into an inside linebacker as well. So it's a lot of competition. And even then with Jalen Smith, where are you at this point in your career? Granted, you're not the same Jalen Smith of old, but do you have a little bit of something? Just a little bit? Dante Thornton Jr., Jack Besh, I want to see where you guys are. Because I've been hearing a lot of great things about Dante Thornton Jr. and Jack Besh. I want to see, can you guys solidify yourselves as wide receiver 2 and 3 on this team? Because outside of Jacoby Myers, it's open season for all the other wide receiver positions. And I feel like Jack Besh and Dante Thornton Jr. can be week 1 starters. But that's just my personal opinion. But let's keep this thing going, though. Dylan Parham and Jordan Meredith, I'm not saying you guys are going to be replaced, but somebody has to step up. Somebody has to show something. Because right now, this offensive line needs to do their best to protect Geno Smith. Geno Smith right now is probably their best option to at least taking them to the next level. Now, am I saying that next level is, making a deep playoff run? No. But what I am saying is this. Keep Geno Smith upright, please. Now, when we look at possible free agency additions, if they want to take that route, for inside linebacker, you have Jawan Bentley, Devondre Campbell, Eric Kendricks, Quan Alexander, Raekwon McMillan. Wide receiver, if you want to take that route, you have Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Reunion, Gabe Davis, Nelson Aguilar, DJ Chark, Tyler Boyd, Chris Conley, Jameson Crowder. Defensive end, you have Jadeveon Clowney, DeMarcus Walker, Montravius Adams, Jerry Hughes, William Golston. Guard, you have Brandon Scherf, Shaq Mason, Willie Hernandez, John Feliciano, Cody Whitehair, Dalton Reisner, and Mark Glenowski, all right? So let's keep this thing going because we're on the roll. Let's go to the Chargers. So positional battles to watch out for. Backup quarterback, wide receiver, guard, running back, cornerback, and center. Players to keep an eye out for. Taylor Heineke, Trey Lance, Amarion Hampton, Najee Harris, Jalen Reagor, Keandre Lambert-Smith, Des Fitzpatrick, Brendan Rice, Mekhi Becton, Jamari Slayer, and Quentin Johnston, all right? So the storyline for the Chargers is, can this offense become more consistent? We all saw how this offense were the first 5 weeks of last season. They were dominant. The run game was great. They were super physical. They were controlling the line of scrimmage, controlling the clock. They were doing their thing. And then the minute J.K. Dobbins gets hurt, not really playing their best. The run game just falls off like a rib falling off the bone. Justin Herbert gets nicked up a little bit and he's not playing his best ball. It just went downhill. And so can this offense become a little bit more consistent? Because I truly believe that the Chargers are a really good team and I feel like they can be a dark horse for the playoffs. But this offense has to be more consistent. If this offense becomes more consistent, you're going to see more out of this team as a whole. They had the 27th ranked offense last year, and they averaged 18.2 points per game, 303.2 yards per game, 4.8 yards per play, and 29 touchdowns. They were 13th in passing offense, and they averaged 223.4 passing yards per game, 5.5 passing yards per play, and 19 passing touchdowns. They were 17th in rushing offense, and they averaged 110.7 rushing yards per game, 4.1 rushing yards per play, 17 rushing touchdowns, and had 46 rushes of 10 plus yards or more. The run game has to be a little bit more consistent. We all know that. Passing game has to be a little bit more consistent as well. We all know that the wide receivers last year really wasn't the best. I mean, sure, you had Lat McConkey and company, but maybe if they add in someone like a Terry McLaurin, or you add somebody else like Romeo Dobbs or John Mechie, maybe the passing game can be a little bit better, but I do believe that this offense can be a little bit more consistent. Now, am I saying this offense has to be top 5 or top 10? No. But I feel like if they're top 15, I think that's good. All right, so let's go with these players, all right? So Taylor Heineke, Trey Lance. Right now, Trey Lance has put on a really good performance. Let's see if Taylor Heineke can follow up with that with the next game, all right? Because right now, you have 2 really good backup quarterbacks. But I feel like Trey Lance may have the advantage. I'm not saying it just because he had a really good performance in the Hall of Fame game, but I just feel like his skill set would help more than Taylor Heineke. Could be wrong, it's just my opinion. Omarion Hampton and Najee Harris. I want to see if Omarion Hampton is going to take the starting running back job from Najee Harris. Granted, we all know Najee is still nursing the eye injury from the fireworks mishap, but I mean, I feel like right now, running back 1 is open. Now, running back 2, 3, that's a different conversation for a different day, but I do believe Omarion Hampton will definitely take the starting role. Jalen Reagor, Keandre Lambert-Smith, Des Fitzpatrick, Brennan Rice, and Quentin Johnson. You know what? Let's break it down, actually. Jalen Reagor, I was high on you when you was coming out of college, so there's nothing really to say about you. I do believe that you will definitely contribute at some point in this season. I don't know if it's going to be week 1, but I do believe he's going to contribute. Des Fitzpatrick, when it comes to training camp, you ball out, you do your thing. But when the pads come on and the lights come on, and it's time for you to show something on the field, not so much. Why? I don't know. But you have all the intangibles. You have the physical tools to be a really good receiver in the league. But you just can't put it together. Why? I don't know. Keandre Lambert-Smith, you showed a lot in the Hall of Fame game. You show that, hey, there's something with your skill set. You could definitely be useful to the Chargers. Brennan Rice, I feel like you have a role in this team as well. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I even saw him playing special teams as well. So if you're playing special teams, hey, that even gives you more of an opportunity to be on this team. But if you're Quentin Johnson, you got to show something. This is a make it or break it year for you because right now you have yet to show anything. And you really can't say, oh, I didn't have this or I didn't have that. You have stability at quarterback. It would be different if you've had 3 to maybe 4 quarterbacks since coming into the league. Okay, fine. We can give you a little bit of grace. But that's not the case. You have a dropping problem. And right now, Jalen Reagor, Keandre Lambert-Smith, Brennan Rice, Lat McConkey, they're all looking way more better than what you're looking right now. So it's time for you to show something. Because I don't think there's going to be another team that's going to be dealing with your dropping problems. Just saying. Mekhi Becton and Jamari Slayer, I feel like the guard position is open. Although Mekhi Becton is coming off of, a really good season and winning a Super Bowl with the Eagles, that doesn't mean that the guard position is locked in. It's still anybody's position at this point. Now, do I think Mekhi Becton may have the advantage? Yes. But I want to see if he's going to carry over what he's learned from the Eagles to the Chargers. Jamari Slayer has a chance, but how big of a chance? That I really don't know. But I will say this. Each and every one of these battles are going to be very interesting moving forward, and I cannot wait to see them. But when we look at, possible free agency additions, if they want to take that route, backup quarterback, I don't think they're going to make any moves with that. Wide receiver, I wouldn't be surprised if they make a big move. I mean, hey, you can go after someone like a Terry McLaurin. I think that would be great. I do know that the Chargers and Keenan Allen, they do have mutual interest in doing business again. That's a possibility. I mean, we all know that Mike Williams unexpectedly retired before training camp even started. So you may want to add in somebody. I mean, there's not a lot of options. I mean, sure, you have Gabe Davis, Nelson Aguilar, the same people that I've been saying for the past few episodes. But I feel like getting someone like a Terry McLaurin would definitely solidify the wide receiver room. Just saying. But when we're looking at other positions that they could possibly add, I mean, running back. I mean, you have Zach Moss, who just got released from the Bengals, Jamal Williams, Gus Edwards, Jeff Wilson. Cornerback, you have James Bradbury, Kendall Fuller, Stephon Gilmore, Rasul Douglas, Sante Samuel Jr., if you want to bring him back, Emmanuel Mosley, just to name a few. I don't think there's a need to address any of the other positions that I've talked about recently. I feel like all those positions have already been addressed, and those personnel are already on the team. But anything can happen. But let's keep this thing going. All right, so let's go to the Broncos. This is actually fairly easy. All right, positional battles to watch out for: running back and nickel corner. The storyline for the Broncos is: will the Broncos become playoff contenders this season? I think right now this is an underrated team that can definitely make a lot of noise. From adding Jahdae Barrett in the draft to keeping Cortland Sutton and Zach Allen in PS2, this team is ready to make some noise. This team could have a direct impact on the Chiefs getting the number 1 or number 2 seed. Now, am I saying this team is ready for the Super Bowl? No. But what I am saying is this. This team can make some noise. I feel like this team can go toe-to-toe against the Ravens, the Chiefs, possibly the Bills, the Steelers. I think they can do it. I think as long as the offense improves and the defense gets a little bit better, I think they're there. Now, shifting things over to nickel corner, you have Jahdae Barrett and Jaquan McMillan. I'm not saying, one person has the advantage over the other, but I just want to see how Jahdae Barrett fits in this Broncos defense. Because we all know that Jahdae Barrett has a little bit of positional flexibility. So I want to see, are they going to use him as a nickel sometimes? Or are they going to use him as an outside corner? How exactly are the Broncos going to use someone like a Jahdae Barrett? Because he has the speed, he has the IQ, he has the skill set, he can do it all. So this is going to be a very interesting matchup. Jaquan McMillan, the position is yours. You just got to fight for it. That's it. Like there's not a lot of positions to really keep an eye out for because this team is pretty much already set up. There's only a few loose ends and whatnot. It's no problem, right? But even when we look at things with running back, J.K. Dobbins, you only signed a 1-year deal. Your spot isn't locked in. But at the same time, we all know that J.K. Dobbins is a difference maker when he's healthy. And I want to see, can he at least have just one healthy season? Because the skill is there. He just has to stay healthy. That's been his main knock since coming into the league. He has the skill set, but he just has to put it together. RJ Harvey, it's your position to lose. But I feel like personally, there's another what am I saying? There's another level to your game. I believe it. I think everything is in place for you to be super successful, but you just got to show it. Now, when we look at possible free agency additions, if they want to take that route, for corner, you have James Bradbury, Kendall Fuller, Stephon Gilmore, Rasul Douglas, Emmanuel Mosley, Asante Samuel Jr. Running back, if you want to take that route, you have Zach Moss, Jamal Williams, Gus Edwards, Jeff Wilson. Do I think this team is going to make any of these moves? No. Do I think they may bring in somebody as a camp body? Yes. I think they're going to bring in somebody that could possibly push someone or at least compete at best. But, as a whole, this team is fairly set. I don't think there's a need to have like a legitimate conversation about other positions. I feel like personally this team is set up for success moving forward. The team is still fairly young, so let's see what happens with the Broncos. Now let's go over to the NFC West. All right, let's start with the Seahawks. Positional battles to watch out for: quarterback, tight end, right guard, right tackle, running back, and corner. All right. Players to keep an eye out for: Abraham Lucas, Anthony Bradford, A.J. Barner, Elijah Arroyo, Sam Darnold, Jalen Milroe, Drew Lock, Josh Jobe, Shaq Griffin, Zach Charbonnet, and Kenneth Walker III. So the storyline for the Seahawks is, can this offense improve? Granted, I understand you guys made some significant moves on the offense. You added Cooper Kupp, and then you went after Sam Darnold. Okay, great. But this offense just needs to improve a little bit more. I'm not saying it has to be top 5, but man, it has to improve because right now the defense is doing all the heavy lifting, and you don't want that, all right? This isn't the early 2000s where your defense can shut a team out and, all you have to do is score 15 points and win a game. No. So the offense has to do better, okay? Now, according to NFL Pro, the Seahawks had the 14th ranked offense last year, and they averaged 22.1 points per game, 332.2 yards per game, 5.5 yards per play, and 38 touchdowns. They were 8th in passing offense, and they averaged 236.5 passing yards per game, 6.2 passing yards per play, and 21 passing touchdowns. They were 28th in rushing offense, and they averaged 95.7 rushing yards per game, 4.2 rushing yards per play, 17 rushing touchdowns, and 47 rushes of 10 plus yards or more. But let's be honest here. Can some of the offensive problems be blamed on the former offensive coordinator? Yes. Can some of the offensive problems be blamed on the lack of talent that's on the offensive line? Yes. Both things are true. But things have changed. They brought in a new offensive coordinator with the hope that this offense can improve just a little bit more than what it did last season. You brought in Sam Darnold, who, there was one point in time where people were talking about him being an MVP. You have JSN, you drafted Elijah Arroyo, you have Cooper Kupp. You have weapons on this offense. It's just a matter of, can things come together? Now let's start with this offensive line. Right guard and right tackle. Abraham Lucas and Anthony Bradford. I understand that there's not a lot of good tackle free agent options. But, if you're the Seahawks, you have to bring in a veteran guard. I'm sorry. You cannot roll into the season with this guard right now. This is no disrespect to him. But these aren't good numbers. According to PFF, he allowed 10 penalties, 7 sacks, and 28 total pressures. Abraham Lucas had 6 penalties, allowed 4 sacks, and 18 total pressures. Folks, this offensive line needs to be better. If this offensive line doesn't improve, the run game isn't going to get better, nor is the passing game. So somebody's going to have to do something. Whether it means you bring in a veteran tackle or you bring in a veteran guard, something. But let's keep things going, all right? So A.J. Barner and Elijah Arroyo. Right now, I believe Elijah Arroyo could be tight end 1 week 1. I feel like his skill set would be great for this team, and I feel like he has a lot of upside to his game. A.J. Barner, on the other hand, could he be tight end 2? Yes, and that's perfectly fine. I think tight end is one of those positions where you don't have to be number 1. You can be just as effective in the second position as you would be in the first position. I'm just saying. It's my personal opinion. I could be wrong. Sam Darnold, Jalen Milroe, Drew Lock. Sam Darnold, you're under a little bit of pressure, and here's why. For one, if you don't perform well this season, the Seahawks can get off of your contract next year, no problem. You essentially signed a 1-year deal. So you have to show them what you showed the Vikings last season, because you were on a tear for a majority of the season last year. So you got to carry that same momentum with the Seahawks this year. Jalen Milroe, I would use this opportunity to possibly compete for quarterback 2 or 3. But I may want to lean with quarterback 3 just so you can sit back, learn, and watch on what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do. Because the number one knock with Jalen Milroe coming out of Alabama was he was raw. And he was making a lot of routine mistakes. So if I'm Jalen Milroe, I would rather take a step back just so I can learn, so that when my opportunity arises, guess what? I can capitalize off it because I know the do's and don'ts when it comes to being a quarterback in the National Football League. Drew Lock, I'm not saying you have a lot to show for, but let's see where you are at this point. I'm not saying I have super high hopes for him, but I do believe he is a better backup quarterback than what a lot of people say he is. Josh Jobe, Shaq Griffin, this is an interesting matchup, and here's why. So they bring in Shaq Griffin, who we all know he was a part of the Seahawks at one time, and he's on a 1-year deal. So technically speaking, his role isn't solidified on this team. Josh Jobe, on the other hand, you could show, hey, listen, this is my role. Yeah, you brought in a veteran, but hey, this is my role. He has to go through me. You can have that type of mindset when going up against Shaq Griffin. Now, does that mean you have to be more detail-oriented and you have to be better in coverage? Yes. But I do believe that you have the potential to do it. Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker, that's an interesting competition as well. Because both running backs are very productive when on the field. It's just one of them has a problem staying healthy. You remove the health part, you have a running back tandem. I think either way you slice this, Zach Charbonnet could be running back 1 and Kenneth Walker can be 2, or vice versa. Either way, it's still really productive. I think if this rushing offense become at least top 15, probably close to top 10, I think this offense would be a whole lot better. But if the run game doesn't get better, there's going to be legitimate questions moving forward on if this team has made enough significant investment into the offense. Because we all know where all the investments has gone. It's gone to the defense. But someone is going to start asking the question of, hey, did they put a little bit too much into the defense? Are they neglecting the offense? What's going on? But when we look at possible free agency additions, I mean, for guard, you have Brandon Scherf, Shaq Mason, Willie Hernandez, John Feliciano, Cody Whitehair, Dalton Reisner, Mark Lanowski. Cornerback, you have James Bradbury, Kendall Fuller, Stephon Gilmore, Rasul Douglas, Emmanuel Mosley, Asante Samuel Jr. Tackle, you have George Fant, Andreas Pete, Isaiah Wynn, Michael Dunn, Chris Hubbard, Connor McDermott, if I'm not mistaken. Running back, you have Zach Moss, Jamal Williams, Gus Edwards, Jeff Wilson. Tight end, you have Gerald Everett, Mercedes Lewis, Jordan Akins, and McCole Pruitt. So, do I think they're going to add a veteran at some point? Yes. Do I think it's going to be guard? Hell yeah. I think at best, if you add either Brandon Scherf, Shaq Mason, or Willie Hernandez, I think you're upgrading the position. And I think you're going to see a better result than what you have right now, which is, Anthony Bradford, who gave up, 7 sacks? That's just not good. Now, tackle is a little bit difficult, and here's why. All of these tackles are most likely swing tackles, okay? And on top of that, the last time that they did play, it probably wasn't their best. So what exactly do you do? Do you let Abraham Lucas play this thing out in hopes that, hey, maybe he can improve as the season goes on? What exactly can you do to make this offensive line better? Granted, you made an investment in drafting Gray Zabel. Cool, great, whatever. You signed Connor Williams, but then he unexpectedly retired. What exactly do you need to do to take this offense to the next level? That would be my question for the head coach and for this team as a whole. Now let's get to the Cardinals, all right? So positional battles to watch out for. Guard, outside linebacker, and cornerback. Players to keep an eye out for. Isaiah Adams, Zevin Collins, B.J. Ojolari, Justin Jones, Darius Robinson, Garrett Williams, and Will Johnson, all right? So the storyline for the Cardinals is there another level to this offense? Folks, this is an underrated offense that doesn't get the flowers that it so deserves. You have Marvin Harrison Jr., you have Kyler Murray, you have a pretty good offensive line, you have Trey McBride, you have James Conner, you have some weapons. But my question is there another level to this offense? Can this offense become better? Now, when we look at the stats from this past season, they were the 11th ranked offense, and they averaged 23.5 points per game, 358.2 yards per game, 5.9 yards per play, and 39 touchdowns. They were 18th in passing offense, and they averaged 214.1 passing yards per game, 6.4 passing yards per play, and 21 passing touchdowns. They were 7th in rushing offense, and they averaged 144.2 rushing yards per game, 5.3 rushing yards per play, 18 rushing touchdowns, and 73 rushes of 10 plus yards or more. Folks, the numbers don't lie. This offense has the potential to become possibly top 10 in all major categories, both passing and rushing. If Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. develop their chemistry even more, that's it. Because you have everything else in place. All you have to do is just build off of what you have right now. This team as a whole is a dark horse. Now, am I saying this team can make it to the NFC Championship? No. But I do believe that this team could possibly make it into the playoffs. I think out of the NFC West, can't even speak. Out of the NFC West, I feel like the 49ers, the Rams, and the Cardinals will all make it to the playoffs. I feel like the Seahawks, at first, they'll have the advantage over everyone. But as the season progresses, they're going to lose their grip. The 49ers are going to take control. And then the Cardinals are going to sneak into the playoffs. I feel like they have that type of potential. I could be wrong. These are just my opinions. I'm going to keep on saying it. Now, when we look at guard, me personally, you can go about it a few different ways, right? You can continue to let the younger prospects that you have on your team to hash things out just to see where they are, or you can bring in a veteran presence. Now, me personally, I wouldn't hit the panic button right now and bring in a veteran presence. Because right now, when you look at Evan Brown, according to PFF, he only had 2 penalties, he only allowed 2 sacks, and he only had, 20 total pressures allowed? That's not bad. And he's played 1,070 snaps at left guard. Now, Isaiah Adams, on the other hand, he's a little bit more diverse, okay? So he had 4 penalties, he allowed 2 sacks, he's played 444 snaps at right guard, and then 18 snaps at left guard. So me personally, I would keep Evan Brown at left guard. Right guard, you can do a few things with it. If you feel like Isaiah Adams isn't the answer, okay, that's when you bring in, Willie Hernandez or Shaq Mason or Brandon Scherf. But if you feel good with the progress that he's shown in training camp and in the preseason, well, then just roll with what you have. This team doesn't have a lot of holes. This team continues to build every single year, and they're heading in the right direction. All they have to do is maintain the course. Now, when we shift things over to the defense, however, they have a loaded pass rusher room. I mean, you have Zevon Collins, B.J. Ojolari, you have Darius Robinson, you have Josh Sweat, who they got in free agency. You have a lot of pass rushers. And you have a lot of pass rushers that have a lot of upside to their game. So me personally, I want to see who's going to stand out. Is it going to be B.J. Ojolari? Is it going to be Zevon Collins? Is it going to be Darius Robinson? Who's it going to be? Because if I'm the defensive coordinator, I want to keep as many pass rushers as I possibly can. Because that way you can continue to just create an endless wave of pressure on a quarterback. And who wouldn't want that? That's the same model that that the Eagles have been doing for the past few years. They've created wave after wave after wave of pass rushers to consistently go after the quarterback. And it's worked. So I think if you take that same model and you apply it with the Cardinals, I think it can be really successful. Now, am I saying this defense could be, top 5 or, top 2 or whatever? No. But I do think this defense has a lot of potential. I think they've made a lot of investments into the defensive line. I think they made a lot of investments into the secondary. I feel like the secondary as a whole is underrated as well. You got Will Johnson for a steal, because there was a point in time where he was slated to be a top 5, possibly top 10 pick. You have Garrett Williams. You have a lot in your secondary. You still have Budda Baker. You have Jalen Thompson. All I'm saying is this team really doesn't have to make any significant moves right now. They can just sit back and just wait. Now, if something emerges, somebody's out for the season, okay, fine, then you have to make a move. But me personally, I feel like the Cardinals are in a really good spot right now. Now, when we look at possible free agency additions, if they want to take that route, cornerback, you have James Bradbury, Kendall Fuller, Stephon Gilmore, Rasul Douglas, Asante Samuel Jr., Emmanuel Mosley. Outside linebacker, if you want to take that route, you have Matthew Judon, Preston Anzadarius Smith, because Kaiser White, I think, retired. You have Jalen Reeves Maben, you have Kamul Grazier-Hill, just to name a few. Guard, if you want to take that route, you have Brandon Scherf, Shaq Mason, Willie Hernandez, John Feliciano, Cody Whitehair, Dalton Risner, Mark Lanowski. So you have options at guard. Now the question is, are you going to just wait to possibly make a move? Or are you just going to address it now so that way you don't have to worry about it moving forward? Just food for thought. Now let's go to the 49ers, all right? So positional battles to watch out for. Wide receiver, defensive tackle, defensive end, guard, and cornerback, all right? So players to keep an eye out for: Michael Williams, Yetur Gross-Matos, Jordan Elliott, Alfred Collins, Ricky Pearsall, Jordan Watkins, Jacob Cowing, CJ West, Bryce Huff, Ben Barch, Spencer Burford, and Renardo Green. So the storyline for the 49ers is Can this team overcome their playoff struggles? Folks, you already know what I'm getting ready to say about the 49ers. This team has been overly qualified for the past few years. And yet, every single time when they get to the big moment, they fold for one reason or the other. This is probably the most important season for the Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch regime and their entire tenure right now. Because right now, if you don't win a Super Bowl, you may have to start questioning Kyle Shanahan. Let's be real here, folks. They've had top 5 defenses. They've had top 5 offenses in the last few years. They've made moves to get Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey. They've paid this person and that person. They've done it all. And so far, they haven't won a Lombardi. So at some point, someone's going to have to answer the tough questions. Is it Kyler Murray? Is it John Lynch? Is it the both of them? What exactly is causing them not to win it all? So let's start with the pass rushers, all right? Defensive tackle and defensive end, all right? So Mykel Williams, Yetur Gross-Matos, Jordan Elliott, Alfred Collins. For one, I want to see how Mykel Williams is going to be used in this defense. I know Georgia used him in a variety of different roles, so I want to see if that's going to carry on with the 49ers. I do believe that him, Yetur Gross-Matos, and Nick Bosa could be a really good combination. But I want to see how things work. I want to see how the chemistry works between all of them. I want to see exactly where is Mykel Williams going to be lined up. Is it going to be more of the outside linebacker type of role, or is it going to be lined up more in a traditional defensive end role? Yetur Gross-Matos, I want to see you continue to grow. Now, am I saying that you're going to be this super dominant tier 1 or tier 2 pass rusher? No. But I think if you contribute 5 to 8 sacks this season, on top of whatever Nick Bosa gets, I think that's really good. Because I think right now, this pass rush room, this defensive line as a whole, has a lot of potential. I mean, you have Bryce Huff, you have CJ West, you have Alfred Collins, you have it all. And so right now, if you're Robert Saleh, you want to emphasize trying to make sure that each and every one of your defensive linemen eats. I mean, listen, they made a move for Bryce Huff. We all saw how Bryce Huff was when he was with the Jets. He was killing it. So let's see if that's going to continue with the 49ers. You drafted CJ West and Alfred Collins, 2 really good defensive linemen. And Alfred Collins is a beast. Now, my question is he going to be used primarily to stuff the run? Is he going to be used to go after the quarterback? What is going to be his role? Same thing with CJ West. I feel like they have enough diversity within their game to where you can use them in multiple roles. Same thing with Jordan Elliott as well. This defensive line has to become better. Because right now, I don't really trust the secondary, personally. I mean, sure, you have Deommodore Lenoir, you have Renardo Green, but, I mean, with them losing Charvarius Ward, you don't have that true number 1 corner on your team right now. And so the only way to mitigate that is for your defensive line to carry the majority of the workload for the defense. If they can go after the quarterback, the corner's got him made in the shade. But if this defensive line can't successfully and consistently go after quarterbacks, it's going to be a problem. Let's keep things going, all right? So, wide receiver, Ricky Pearsall, Jordan Watkins, Jacob Cowan. Right now, we all know that Brandon Ayuk isn't going to be available for a while. We don't know what's going on with Jauan Jennings' contract situation. So right now, Ricky Pearsall, Jordan Watkins, and Jacob Cowan, it's time for you guys to step up. It's time for you guys to be thrust into a role that you're probably not comfortable with, but you're going to have to be comfortable with. Because right now, with the 49ers moving off of Deebo Samuel this offseason, and Brandon Ayuk still recovering from his ACL surgery, and you don't know what's going on with Jauan Jennings, everyone's going to have to step up. Everyone's going to have to at least contribute more in the passing game. Now, do I think they all have the potential to do it? Yes, 1,000%. Ricky Pearsall has a lot of potential in this game. Same thing with Jordan Watkins and Jacob Cowan. Now, the question is, if you're the 49ers, do you make a big move and go after Terry McLaurin? I would say yes. Because right now, you don't have a true number 1 receiver available on your team right now. If you go into the season right now, who's your number one receiver? Who's your number two receiver? Who's your number three receiver? These are the tough questions that need to be asked when it comes to roster building. If you guys are truly serious about this season, and based off everything that I've read, with this schedule being the easiest schedule in the entire league, it's only right that you try to pick up the phone and go after Terry McLaurin. Now, granted, you are in a situation where, yes, you're going to have to pay somebody a lot of money, but it's going to help out the offense even more, and that's another weapon for Brock Purdy. Just saying. Now, let's keep this thing going. So, Spencer Bradford, Renardo Green, I'm not saying it's a competition, but you just want to see where they are, just in case you have to make a move for corner. Granted, like I just said with the whole Javarius Ward, Diamador Lenore, and Renardo Green thing, your cornerback room took a loss this offseason, and you guys really didn't do anything in either the draft or in free agency to recoup that. And, if you're the 49ers, you want to at least see what you have first before you have to make a drastic move. I still believe in Renardo Green. I still feel like he has a lot of upside to his game. I still feel like he hasn't even reached his potential yet. But I want to see how things are going to go with him and Diamador Lenore being the primary outside corners right now. But when we look at, possible free agency additions if they want to take that route, I mean, with cornerback, you have James Bradbury, Kendall Fuller, Stephon Gilmore, Rasul Douglas, Asante Samuel Jr., if everything checks out with his neck. Emmanuel Mosley, if you want to take that route. Defensive end, you have Jadeveon Clowney, DeMarcus Walker, Montravius Adams, Jerry Hughes, William Golston. Wide receiver, you have Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Gabe Davis, which recently he said that he's very interested in going to the 49ers. Nelson Aguilar, DJ Chark, Tyler Boyd, Chris Conley, Jameson Crowder. Guard, if you want to take that route, you have Brandon Scherf, Shaq Mason, Willie Hernandez, John Feliciano, Cody Whitehair, Dalton Reisner, Mark Lanowski. Because let's be real here. The guard that you have right now, I don't really trust him as much. Me personally, I would feel a lot more comfortable if this team went after a veteran in Shaq Mason, Willie Hernandez, possibly Brandon Scherf, but that's just my opinion. Defensive tackle, if you want to take that route, I mean, you have Christian Wilkins, if everything checks out with him. Raekwon Davis, Austin Johnson, Maurice Hurst, Jordan Phillips, just to name a few. So all in all, I think the thing that I'm trying to get at with the 49ers is it's time for you to step up. Whatever you have to do, do it. Because right now, this is a make it or break it year for every person. From head coach, front office personnel, whomever. Everybody is under a microscope this year. Now let's go to the Rams, okay? So positional battles to watch out for. Cornerback, left tackle, right tackle, tight end, wide receiver. Players to keep an eye out for. Terrence Ferguson, Tyler Higbee, Rob Havenstein, Alaric Jackson, Xavier Smith, Kanate Mumfield, and Jordan Winnington. The storyline for the Rams is, can the Rams make one more run? Folks, we all saw what the Rams did last season. That first half of the season wasn't the best for them. But that second half of the season, man, they were on a run. They looked like the real Rams. And they made some significant investments to the offense this offseason. I mean, they got Devontae Adams, which is another weapon for Matthew Stafford. They've tried to, at least get more weapons for him. I mean, sure, you brought in another tight end, another really productive tight end. And so right now, I want to see, can this team at least make one more run? I think they can do it. It's going to be tough, but I think they can do it. Because after this season, I think we have to start having a legitimate conversation of who's going to be the successor for Matthew Stafford. And if I'm the Rams, I possibly want to take a quarterback next year. Now, I'm not saying you take a quarterback next year and then you just scoop Matthew Stafford. No, you bring in that quarterback so that they can sit and learn under Matthew Stafford. Because right now, last season, it really showed Matthew Stafford's age. And if you're the Rams, you have to be a little bit cautious with that. Even with the money that they gave him, I probably wouldn't have gave him that much money. I would have tried to at least structure it in a way to where, hey, listen, for all intents and purposes, if he retires after the season, guess what? We can let you go. It doesn't really affect us for the foreseeable future, and you can still get your money, right? Compared to being in this situation now where you have to take things year to year, which is a little bit cautious. And it's a little bit dangerous, to be honest. But let's get to these players, all right? So, Terrence Ferguson, Tyler Higbee. I'm not saying this is a competition, but I think having another reliable tight end would be great. Sure, Tyler Higbee is definitely one of the better tight ends in the league. He's very underrated with his game. But I think having someone in Terrence Ferguson, I think that can definitely open up the offense even more. My guess is Sean McVay probably wants to go to 12 to maybe 13 personnel moving forward because they probably want to run the ball a little bit more effectively, which is perfectly fine. Rob Havenstein and Larry Jackson. So with these tackles, you have one who's had blood clot issues in Larry Jackson, and you have Rob Havenstein, who he had surgery this offseason to clean up some stuff within both of his shoulders. So you don't know exactly when they're going to be completely healthy this season. Now, am I saying that the Rams need to go after, tackle prospects? No, but what I am saying is this. You want to move on the air of caution, and you want to be realistic that there is a chance that either a Larry Jackson may not start in week 1 or Rob Havenstein might start in week 1. That is a realistic situation that could happen. So if I'm the Rams, you have to prepare for that. Now, do I think they have somebody on the team that can help them with that? Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can always bring in a tackle. That's no problem at all, okay? Tackle prospects are everywhere, especially swing tackles, okay? Shoot, Jermaine Ifedi just signed with the Dolphins this morning because Austin Jackson got hurt and he's going to be out for a while. I think they said he probably won't be able to start until week 1 of the regular season. And even then, I think that's a long shot. So you just want to be cautious, okay? But let's talk about these wide receivers. So Xavier Smith and Konate Mumfield, me personally, I feel like at some point this season, they're going to be playing, okay? Tutu Atwell only signed a 1-year deal. His role isn't necessarily locked in with the team. So if you're Konate Mumfield and if you're Xavier Smith, you want to put your best foot forward. You want to at least develop some level of chemistry with Matthew Stafford. Because if you're the Rams, the more weapons that Matthew Stafford has at his disposal, the better chance that you have of winning it all. And so right now, I feel like with having someone in Konate Mumfield who he has the speed and the route running, and you have someone in Xavier Smith who I feel like there's something that can be unlocked in his game, I think the sky's the limit with both of them. I don't think neither one of them is going to get cut. I do feel like there's going to be a role for them at some point. What is it? I don't know. Even when you look at Jordan Whittington, I feel like he's somewhat of an underrated receiver. I mean, just looking at his stats from this past season, I mean, you had 22 receptions for 293 yards, and you averaged 13.3 yards per play. That's almost a first down and more every single time you got the ball. I'm going to continue to say this until the cows come home. If you're the Rams, you maximize as much talent as you have on this offense because you know it's going to benefit Matthew Stafford moving forward. The more receivers that he has available, the more running backs, tight ends, better offensive line protection, the more that he has more weapons around him, the better chance that he has of making it to the Super Bowl. We saw how close they were last season. If that offense was a little bit more productive, and that defense could have at least tried to disrupt the rhythm that the Eagles had, they would have been in the Super Bowl. Now, am I saying that they would have won? No. But what I am saying is this. They have potential this year. Now, when we look at cornerback, personally, I feel like they didn't make as much investment as they needed to. I feel like outside of Akello Witherspoon, who else can you really rely on right now? I feel like Darius Williams is a slot corner at this point. I mean, sure, they brought in Emmanuel Forbes Jr., but I mean, even then, he's a project right now, and you have to see where he is. And right now, he's sort of like at the bottom of the cornerback room. So, do you have to bring in somebody to at least give you a little bit of protection? Possibly. Because right now, if Akello Witherspoon goes down, who else can you rely on? I mean, sure, you have Darion Kendrick, you have Kobe Durant, you have people, but sometimes you're going to need a guy back there. And right now, I feel like Akello Witherspoon and Darius Williams are the only two guy options right now. And one of them is a slot corner who, I mean, he's not the biggest corner. I mean, let's be real. Let's really have an honest conversation here. If this team wants to win one more Super Bowl, they're going to have to make at least one more big move. Me personally, I feel like it's either going to be a corner or maybe a wide receiver. I feel like they have the assets to do it. I mean, listen, you have 2 first-round picks. If you wanted to, you could give Washington a first-round pick, even though I feel like that's a little bit crazy. And I feel like that's a reach for Terry McLaurin. But you could do it. And then that means what? You will have a wide receiver room that has Devontae Adams, Terry McLaurin, Tutu Atwell, Puka Nacua, and everyone else. I think that's really good. But, again, these are just my opinions. This is just how I feel about the teams and where they are right now. If you're the Rams, what are you going to do? Because you know the Eagles got better. You know the Vikings got better. The 49ers, the Cardinals. Everyone in the NFC has gotten better. You got to find a way to stand out right now. Now, when we look at possible free agency additions, if they want to take that route, especially with corner, I mean, you have James Bradbury, Kendall Fuller, Stephon Gilmore, Rasul Douglas, Emmanuel Mosley, Asante Samuel Jr., Michael Davis. Tackle, which you may have to make that investment pretty soon. George Fant, Andreas Pete, Isaiah Wynn, Michael Dunn, Raven Clark, Chris Hubbard. A wide receiver, if you want to take that route, you know, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Gabe Davis, Nelson Aguilar, DJ Chark, Tyler Boyd, Chris Conley, Jameson Crowder. Tight end, if you want to bring in a blocking option, okay, Gerald Everett, Mercedes Lewis, Jordan Akins, or Nicole Pruitt. Those are all valuable options right now. But just looking at things with the Rams, I think their floor is maybe the wild card of the playoffs, and I think their ceiling is maybe the Super Bowl. But I feel like if they make one more significant move, I think you have to have a legitimate conversation right now with them. I'm just being honest. I could be wrong, but here's just how I feel. I knew I was forgetting something. We have to talk about Noah Fant. So Noah Fant has signed with the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, for how much? I don't know. We still don't know what the numbers are. All I know is it's just a 1-year deal. I mean, sure, it's another weapon for Joe Burrow, but I'm a little bit skeptical about it because now you have 2 tight ends that neither one of them are good at blocking. If you at least brought in one tight end that's good with blocking, okay, fine. I can feel a little bit confident with that. But right now, all you have is just 2 receiving options at tight end. I don't really think that's the best. But when we look at his stats from this past season, 64 targets for 48 receptions, 500 receiving yards, 1 touchdown, and 10.4 receiving yards per reception. You're talking about somebody that is an intermediate, short type of tight end. He's not this tight end where, you know, he's going to go deep and, you know, he's just going to, you know, kill it. No, he's just someone that, you know, if you need that first down, he's right there. If you need to, you know, extend the play, he's right there. That's just who he is, all right? But I'm going to end this episode. If you guys like what you're listening, please make sure you guys download the episodes, share the episodes with somebody that you know that loves football. And I mean eats, sleeps, and breathes football, okay? That's all they listen to is football because guess what? We are in the season for football, folks. We are in the season. It's finally here. We can finally watch football now, okay? It may just be the preseason. Don't care. It's football, all right? Now, please leave a 5-star review everywhere that you listen to podcasts, please. I would deeply appreciate that. That lets me know, like, hey, I'm giving you guys the fix that you guys love and need. Hey, there's something I need to tweak. Maybe there's something that we can talk about a little bit more, a little bit less. It goes a long way, all right? Now, for my YouTube people, make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, turn the notification bell on, leave a comment down below. Leave me your thoughts on any of the teams that I have talked about so far with this mini-series. Am I right? Am I wrong? What exactly, what are your thoughts? Okay, especially with your favorite team. Let me know your thoughts, all right? On top of that, when you go on our YouTube page, Football Junkies Pod, all right, Football Junkies Pod, make sure that you go on the link tree. When you go on that link tree, it'll take you to anywhere and everywhere that we have Football Junkies content, as well as our RSS affiliate link. When you click on that link and when you sign up for RSS.com, I will be able to receive a commission for it. All commissions will go back to the Football Junkies podcast in ways that we can use we can use it for upgrading the equipment. We can get more analytical stats for, you know, different things, different positions and whatnot. All things that we can use to make this podcast better for you guys, okay? Because at the end of the day, I'm not doing this for personal gain. I'm doing this because I know there are like-minded people who are just like me who love football, all right? That's all that matters to me at this point. Now, for my Instagram people, football_junkies pod, all right? Football_junkies pod. Junkies pod is not what? It is together, not spaced, okay? It is together, not spaced. For Junkies pod. Make sure you guys like the reels, share the reels with somebody. Let me know your thoughts, okay? It would definitely go a long way. What am I thinking about? TikTok, all right? Follow me on TikTok, Football Junkies Pod, all right? Football Junkies Pod. I still have a few more clips I have to post, and I still have some other clips that I have to create and put out as well. So we're still working, okay? We are still working over here at the Football Junkies Podcast. You can follow me on X, GMKale, GMKAILE, all right? KAILE. It's the same thing with Blue Sky, GMKale, KAILE, all right? So as always, I hope I give you guys the fix that you guys need. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much for being with me on this mini series. Let's prepare ourselves for the preseason games as well as the regular season, okay? And best believe, within the next maybe 2 or 3 episodes, we have to start talking about draft prospects, specifically quarterbacks, and maybe a few other positions. And we may even have to talk about some college football games as well. So stay tuned. As always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys so much. This is your GM Kel signing out. Peace and love. Later.